All right. What's up, folks? Welcome to Tuesday Night Live. Just me, OJB. Um, I was on the fence about doing this, but man, I feel like with all the love and the prayers and the shout outs and all that stuff, man, I got to get on here and just talk about it for a while. So we'll dive into it. Like I said, it was overwhelming, the support that I got, and it was just a special moment. So obviously this is a new place. We're trying something out. This is we're in my editing room. This is at my house. Normally we do these streams from my father-in-law's house, which is like a couple hundred yards away from the house, just across the field. But we're gonna try this tonight and see how things work out. Let me know if everything looks good on your end. In the near future, I will like upgrade the camera and the mic and stuff, but we're just running off my wife's laptop just to see how it all rolls out. What a weekend, man. What a weekend. I had no idea that I was going to win a new boat. My whole goal going down there was just to make day 3 and have a chance to qualify for the All-American. And we did much more than that. Let's see here. Let me check these comments, see who's everybody's on here. Yeah, get some questions in here too if you want to see it. I see a couple questions popping up, and we'll just kind of freestyle for a little while. Yeah, so Lemco dude's got one right off the bat. We'll dive into this. He says, how much do you rely on a shaky head? Does it produce your key bites, and what's the breakdown for it? And that's a good question, dude. So I see some new faces on here. So I fish out of the back of the boat as a co-angler in the BFLs, and I qualified for the Pickwick Lake Regional through the LBL division. Also fished a few in the Ozark division, but they had some of the Ozark division BFLs were scheduled on top of the LBL tournaments. So, Kentucky Lake, which is the LBL division, is about 2 hours, 2 to 2.5 hours, depending on what section of the lake. I can be at Paris in about 2.5. I can be at the dam in just a hair over 2. Versus the Ozark division, which most of those lakes are 4 hours and 15 minutes, at Lake of the Ozarks, and Truman's like 5 and Table Rock's like 5. So, I decided to kind of focus on the LBL division since it is closer and just a little bit easier, just a little bit. It just made more sense to go that route. But the shaky head, man, that's been a key player the last 3 years out of the back of the boat. I've had some really good finishes on a shaky head, caught some key fish in tournaments on a shaky head. And, I tend to fish a little bit more of a finessey shaky head. A lot of guys fish a bigger worm, and that works great as well. But as a co-angler, you're trying to get bites. You're getting sloppy seconds most of the time. Your boater is getting the right angles, and they're getting the right skips up underneath the docks and stuff. So I'm usually fishing something just a little bit finessier just to try to get bites. We're just trying to put keepers in the boat, man. And then, once I do get a decent limit, if I do, I mean, sometimes I don't. Most of the time, it's hard to get 5 fish out of the back of the boat. But I will change, to a jig or something. Or sometimes they're not even biting that shaky head. There's times for whatever reason they won't bite it. They want a jig, or they want a Carolina rig. So you got to keep an open mind and kind of pay attention to what's going on in the front of the boat. A lot of times, if my boater is fishing a jig, I will fish a shaky head. If I'm not getting bit on that shaky head, then a lot of times I'll fish a stupid tube. But yeah, the shaky head's definitely been a key player. It caught fish in this regional in Pickwick Lake. Several of my keepers came on that shaky head. My favorite actual shaky head, as far as the jig head, the last couple years, it's kind of been there's a Big Bite Baits makes one, and then the Jewel Pro shaky head, and the Big Bite Baits shaky head are the two that I've been using, and I prefer. I don't like the screw lock keeper personally. I mean, I do use it if I'm skipping a shaky head or even on a bigger worm. I might use it, but I feel like you get and people that have watched some of my videos, they know they know my position on, and it's not really positions, it's just my opinion on it. But I think that with that screw lock coming off of the head, off of the shank, it lessens the gap between your hook point and the screw lock. I wish I had one up here. I could show you what I mean. All my tackles up in the garage. But anyway, so I like my bread and butter is like a 3/16. If I'm fishing a little bit deeper, it's a little bit windy, and we have current, then I jump up to a 1/4 ounce, which on Pickwick I was using a 1/4 ounce because they were pulling like 85 to 90,000, which the lake was moving. The further you got up there towards where they were dumping the water in, and the more you got around those islands and those pitch points and those current breaks and things like that, that current was really rolling, and that was one of the keys to my success was figuring out how to fish that current, because it took me a while to figure it out. But yeah, I kind of probably went a little bit sideways on that reply, but that's a good question. Shaky head, man, definitely deal. And I keep it simple too. June bug, green pumpkin, and watermelon. Watermelon was the key player. I've been experimenting. We automatically go with green pumpkin, it seems like. And I found out at Table Rock, I fished a BFL at Table Rock a couple years ago. I finished 5th, and I was just coming off a 5th place finish at Kentucky Lake in a BFL on a green pumpkin shaky head. So I had a ton of confidence on that green pumpkin. But the water clarity on Kentucky Lake during that tournament was about 2.5 to 3 foot of visibility. Bluebird skies, light wind. But on the Table Rock tournament, the water was about 15 foot of visibility. Bluebird skies, light wind. So I couldn't get bit on that green pumpkin, and I switched to watermelon red. And that watermelon red has become a really confident color that I've kind of mixed in my arsenal, not just in the shaky head worm, but any kind of soft plastic that you're fishing. It seems like on the Tennessee River impoundments, Lake of the Ozarks, Table Rock, so the White River chains, you got to have watermelon red as a third color. I experienced that on Pickwick as well. They didn't really want the green pumpkin like they wanted the watermelon. A lot of guys are throwing green pumpkin, and it's so close. You look at it, you're like, man, if they're gonna hit watermelon, they'll hit green pumpkin, and sometimes they will. But I've seen it. I've seen it enough. I'll back up here. I was fishing. I was just doing some footage, doing a video years ago on a strip pit lake, and I was throwing a bigger shaky head worm made by Hawgz Custom Baits. It was their I think it was their 6.5. It's just straight tail worm, but I was throwing it in watermelon, and I was fishing this high spot, this hard spot. And I was getting bit. I was getting lit up. The wind was blowing across there. So there was a little bit of chop on the water, enough to where the visibility wasn't just ultra clear. But I got like 2 or 3 bites. Good, and these are good fish too. These are like 4-pounders. I caught them on that shaky head in watermelon. It's 6 1/4. That's right. Hawgz Custom Baits 6 1/4. But they chewed my worm up, right? And so I was digging around in my boat. I wanted to get back out there because the school was kind of hot, and I was digging around looking for a watermelon red worm. And I couldn't find them. I know they're in there. I just couldn't find them because you know how we are. We got way too much crap in our boats, and I was like ready to get back out there. So I just grabbed a green pumpkin. I'm like, green pumpkin is pretty dang close to watermelon red. So I threaded it up there on my jig head, and I took my socket marker and I hit the tip of it and stuff, just like I had done that watermelon. Right, it's the same exact worm, same exact rod setup, jig head, all that, except one was watermelon red and this new one's green pumpkin. I fished like for 10 minutes and I never got a bite. And I know they're up there. So, I'm like, okay, I gotta see if it's really if it's really the color. And so I end up dumping like a bunch of containers out of my boat, and I found that pack of those Hawgz 6 1/4 in the watermelon. I had about 4 or 5 left. So I thread it back up on there, take the green pumpkin off, thread up the watermelon red, hit that tail with chartreuse, fire it out there. And I mean, within 2 casts, boom, I catch another 4-pounder. I end up catching like 3 or 4 fish. But that was the day where I realized that there can be a huge difference in watermelon red and green pumpkin, even though they look similar and there was good chop on the water. It wasn't like it was dead calm. So since that day, I've really kind of paid attention to if I feel like I should be getting a bite on a certain bait in a more natural color, and I'm not. I always go from watermelon to green pumpkin or vice versa, just to give the fish a second look. And, you know, sometimes it pays off. And then June bug, you know, that's probably the 3 colors that I consistently throw. And usually, if they're gonna bite, you know, if they're gonna bite whatever shape plastic you're throwing, usually they'll bite one of those 3 colors. That's just been, and you know, there's Okeechobee crawl, there's little variables, but those are kind of the bold base colors that I think you have to have in your boat, especially with a shaky head. Yeah, Andy, I know, man. I've been on the phone all day long. I was off yesterday, and I'm talking to a couple different dealers, and I've been getting some prices on the boat. So for you guys that don't know, right behind me, I'll go grab it real quick. This is what I end up winning right here. So it's a Phoenix 819 Pro with a 200 mark on it. So it is a 19-foot, 8-inch boat. And I'm you know, I'm trying to figure out what to do, and you guys, I really would appreciate your feedback on this too. You know, I wanted to upgrade, possibly. I love that. First of all, and I've had this question a lot. I'm just gonna ramble, so you guys just stay with me. I've had this question a lot over the last year or so since since I'm in a bunch of different boats as a co-angler. People reach out to me, maybe they're in the market to buy a new boat. What's been your favorite boat to ride in? And let me start by saying there are a lot of most boats out there are pretty dang good boats. And to be fair about it, if you've had a bad experience in the boat, sometimes it's the driver, because it's no different than going out and driving a vehicle, a truck or a car out on the road. Some people don't know how to drive. That's just the way it is. Some people slam on the brakes too hard. They take the corners too fast. They don't finesse things. So you don't get a true sense of how a boat is or an automobile if the driver is not. I got a bunch of flies in here. I apologize. We live out here around a bunch of crops, and they've been spreading out fertilizer and stuff. And we left the garage open for 2 days, and there's flies everywhere. So some of them have came down here. So if you see me doing this, I'm not crazy. I'm not delirious. I'm just batting out flies. But my top 3 boat platforms that I like, you know, the ones that I like the most over the years, and there's a bunch of seconds too, you know, they're really close, but Phoenix is definitely one of them. I got to ride in practice with Ed Geddes. He has a Phoenix 721, and then day 1 of the regional, my day 1 draw had a Phoenix 721, and I've always really loved that platform. It's definitely one of my top 3. You know, a Vexus is another one that I really love. Uncle Ron, I fished out of his Vexus several times. Gail Julian has a Vexus. There's a couple other Vexuses that I've ridden in BFLs, and that's an awesome platform. That's a higher price point. I mean, that's way up there. So that's definitely out of my. They're pretty much all out of my range. But if I was just a splurge and I came across a stupid amount of money, I would probably seriously consider that Vexus. But for the price point and the value, and would be perfectly content with a Phoenix 721. And then third, I don't really know exactly what third is. You know, Amos is a good riding boat. There's several of them out there, but the boat that I got that I won is this 819. So it's 19 foot 8 inches, comes with a 200, and it's basic, man. I mean, it's stripped down. It's like got a 5-inch graph, and it comes with 2 5-inch graphs. And I honestly, and I'm not throwing shade on anybody that's got a 5-inch graph, but I didn't know they even made 5-inch graphs anymore. I remember the very first graph that I bought a long time ago for my little John boat was like a 5-inch Eagle, I think 480. I think it might even have been black and white, but it was a 5-inch, but it really is only like a 4.5-inch screen. So it's silly, but that's what this boat comes with. It doesn't come equipped with batteries, unfortunately, which I was talking to a guy at work today. I'm like, why would they give you a boat that doesn't have batteries? That is so strange. It's like going car shopping and you're like, this is a lovely vehicle. You're really going to love it. But before we can test drive it, we got to put a battery in it. So I didn't quite understand that, whatever. I know they're trying to get the price point down as low as possible. The trolling motor is, it's a 74-pound thrust trolling motor, but I'm used to an Ultrex. I have, my John boat. People that are new on here, I see a bunch of faces on here that I don't recognize. I fish out of a 16-foot John boat with a 9.9 on it. But I've got it pimped out. I have an Ultrex on there, 80-pound thrust Ultrex. I have a 12-inch Lowrance at the console. Well, it's tiller handle, so where I'm sitting at, I'm looking at a 12-inch live, and then up front I've got a 10-inch Garmin for my front looker, and then I've got a 9-inch Gen 3 Lowrance just for mapping and stuff. So there's no way I could, I can't go back on the trolling motor. Once you experience Ultrex, it's not going back. It's too handy. It's too valuable of a tool, and I've become too dependent on it. I just wouldn't be satisfied with going the other way. And the same thing with the graphs. There's no way you can be going down a lake and actually navigating with a 5-inch graph at 60 miles an hour or whatever. It just wouldn't be safe. It's useless. And you're certainly not going to be able to side scan and see and pick up fish and chat and all the stuff you need to do. So there's going to be that upgrade that I have to get. I'm looking at, probably 2 12-inch Lowrances and probably a 12-inch Garmin for a live scope, and then the Ultrex. That's going to be my upgrades that I want. So I got a $50,000 boat. That's what I want, but I'm gonna have to add another. I don't know what that comes up to. It comes up to a lot, So I'm looking at probably 65 to get something that, I know it's first world problems, guys. I understand that, but I'm just talking out loud because if I'm gonna do this, I want to get something that that I'm gonna fish out of, and I'm gonna have the tools that I need to, to catch some fish, and I may jump over to the boater side. So I certainly don't want to be without things that I'm used to. But yeah, you're right, Andy. I mean, that was a long answer, but I'm just trying to figure out what exactly to do. Yeah, Darius, I'll show you that trophy. And here's the weird thing that I didn't realize. So there she is, man. She sat in the front seat with me on the way home. Put the seatbelt on her. And yeah, Pickwick Lake Regional Champion 2024. It's pretty sweet. I'm pretty proud of this. It's nice to have some hardware. I had a really good year. It's so weird. Like fishing is such a up and down. I was talking to my wife last night about fishing, and like last year, I think it was 2 years ago, man, I don't think I ever cut a check. It was just it was just a rough year. And that's how fishing is. Fishing is, it will humble you as soon as you think you got it figured out, whatever. It's something you can never master. You will never master bass fishing. We are always learning. And if you think you got it figured out, just keep fishing because it's going to change. But I had a couple of years ago, I had a really, really rough tournament series, even in like even some of the local stuff. It really was about 2 years, even like the Wednesday nighters, I struggled and stuff. And, you just got to fish through it. People say you just got to fish through it. And that's true. You have to fish through it. You have to just stay positive and, and keep going, and you'll come out on the other side, and try to learn from it. That's one of the things that's cool about co-angling. You get paired with people that a lot of times are, they're trying to catch fish for themselves. Obviously, they're not out there trying to put you on fish most of the time, especially some of these really, the guys that are up there towards the top right now. I mean, they're stone cold killers, man. They are stone cold killers. So it teaches you patience, it humbles you, and it teaches you to really appreciate when you do catch fish and you have a really good day, because sometimes those days don't come along, and you'll find yourself out there just going, what the heck? And you get frustrated and you can't catch a fish, can't catch a bite. And sometimes the guy in the front of the boat's already went through like 2 or 3 limits. And you're like, can I just get a little nugget or something? Can you just throw me a bone, man? I don't know. I just want a 16-inch fish, man. Come on now. That's the way it is. You just got to fight through it. Let's see here. Yeah. So let me see. What's up, Ryan? Man, it's good to see all these faces on here. This is awesome. Got a good crowd in here tonight. I really appreciate everybody showing up. And like I said earlier, man, it's you don't realize. I was talking to Jake Lawrence yesterday because he's working with ACS down there in near Paris, which is a dealership that I was talking to. And Jake's been on a tear, man. He's won a lot of stuff. But I was talking to him yesterday for a while, and he asked me, he's like, have you come off that high yet? And I'm like, dude, I still haven't really hasn't sunken in. I mean, it's sort of sunk in, but not totally, it's just kind of sinking in slowly. I said, but the thing that is really, really amazing, just as amazing as winning a boat and a trophy, is the amount of comments and outreach that people have shown. The love, man, it blows me away. You think maybe some people are paying attention because you're down there just focused on the tournament. You don't really know. And I didn't have a lot of social media interaction. I mean, I tried to post a little bit, but then you get flooded with these comments. Each day one, I made a post. Everybody's like, man, go get them. Day two, the same thing. And then, you end up doing real good in the tournament. And man, I appreciate everybody that's on here that left a comment. I didn't get back to them because it was just overwhelming. I tried to just do kind of a generic thank you everybody, but I mean, I appreciate it. It's overwhelming. I got a little bit emotional on the ride home just thinking about it all. And it's because it's cool to see these people that are watching, people that are there supporting you. It's special. So I want everybody to know that every single comment was heartfelt, and it's cool just to have support behind you. From the family to the people that hang out with us on these live streams, the people that watch these YouTube videos, and all the other stuff. What's up, JoJo? Got to stay with JoJo down there. That was fun. He was right there. He was knocking at the door. But we had a fun time. I had 2 good days of practice. I got to fish with I fished with Brock Bila. He works down there at Baitworks. He fished the MPFL last year, and we fished. It's kind of funny. I guess we'll dive into the tournament a little bit. What's up, Doug? I'm working on our Big O video right now, Doug. I don't know if I'll get it done by tomorrow, but I'll try to get it done by Friday. It's gonna be pretty good. When I drove down there, I jumped in the boat with Brock on Monday, and he wanted to run all the way up to the tailwater, and I was like, cool, because I've never been up there. So you've got. We were all the way down at. Let's see, we put it into Cane Creek actually, but the tournament was going out of Pickwick Lake. So that's at one end of the lake, and you run all the way up to the other end of the lake. I think that's. I want to say that's Wilson Dam. I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that. But the other end of the lake is where the water is dumping in. It's burly up there, man. Everything's moving. It's current. It's swift. There's birds. It's something different. Something you don't get to experience most of the time. So he was going to run up there and just check it out. I'm like, heck yeah, let's go do it. I want to go up there and look around. So we went up there for a while, and first thing I noticed was how swift the current was, because he got up there, dropped the trolling motor, and he's catching drum. He caught a like 2 or 3 drum really quick. And I'm down here on my phone. I'm trying to buy a Alabama fishing license. I bought a Tennessee fishing license, but I hadn't bought the Alabama. So I would be focused on my phone and look up like a minute. We run all the way up to the top of the dam or close to the wall. And then I was looking down and I'd look up about a minute later and we were like 300 yards all the way down the river. I was expecting to be pretty close to the dam, base of the dam, but we were way down the river and then we'd have to motor up and get back up there. So that place is moving. But this comes full circle. We started the very first cast that I made was up there, and the very last cast of the tournament that I made was up there as well. And that's where I ended up catching the winning fish. Jacob's got a question here. How did you win with all them scopers? I'm going to do a video on that, on how to how to catch some fish behind scopers, because it's something that it's very common. I mean, there's been a lot of complaints by co-anglers and the Opens, the BFLs, the Toyota series about fishing behind live scopers, and it is tough, especially behind some of the really, really good ones, the guys that are moving fast. They're covering a lot of water. They're hitting isolated targets, and their whole goal is to throw at as many pieces of cover as possible in the daytime to put the odds in their favor. And a lot of times they're just making a couple casts and then they roll on. So you don't have time to relax. I mean, you got to jump up, you got to fire and fish some stuff, and boom, we're sitting back down and running, or the trolling motor's on 8 and you're moving to the next burst power, the next stump. So it is tough, but I am going to do a video on some of the ways that I've been able to catch some fish behind live scopers. It's tough. My day one boater wasn't really doing that much. Day two, I drew Hunter Sells, another MPFL pro, and he scoped all day long. But I was able to catch one fish behind him. And then my day three boater, I got the perfect day three boater. He was probably the only guy in the top 12 that wasn't doing it. Any other draw, and I don't win the tournament. I'm 100% sure of that, and we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. I'm going to kind of scroll down through some of these things and see if we got any more questions. Eventually, I'm going to have this actually rigged up on my my PC there. Thanks, Todd. Thanks, David, Daryl. Okay, let's just go into the tournament. I'll start it off. We started out with Brock, as far as practice, and something I like to do is if I can practice at least one day, I think it benefits you, because I always throw something different than the guy I'm practicing with, and I'm hoping that he's catching stuff on what he's doing. Brock was throwing a jig head minnow and a big glide most of the time. So that was cool to see some fish smash a glide. And I'm working on this video stuff too. It's going to be a couple weeks, but you're going to have 2 different practice days and then all 3 individual days of the tournament. It's going to be a bunch of stuff, so you guys can see exactly how it all went down. But that was with Brock, and I tried to throw a Carolina rig and stuff. I didn't get it. I mean, I caught a few fish behind him, but that was good, because I knew that there was a good chance that I was going to draw somebody that was doing that in the tournament. So, and I don't like to get up on the front. I don't like to look at them on the front deck, even though I could have, because that's not what I'm going to be doing in the tournament. So, if you practice like that, practicing looking at them using the live scope, it's going to mess with your head. You're really going to feel like you're out in the middle of nowhere when you're on the back deck and you're not looking at them. So I don't even want to do that. I'll ask some questions about what's going on maybe. But day 2, I didn't draw it. I got the fish with Ed Geddes, local Kentucky Lake legend. He's going to be on the live stream sometime, and you guys definitely, everybody on here, when you see that posted, jump on here, because it's going to be good. I didn't realize the history with him on Kentucky Lake and other lakes in the country, but man, he's an OG, man. He's like the OG. He started some like deep cranking stuff. He's he helped groom KVD with his cranky game. So all kinds of stories, man. Fun time. But we went out and we fished similar stuff. You know, he may be old school, but he knows how to use that front looker too. So he was doing some of that too. And you know, I drug a Carolina rig around. I caught some fish on that. And then so day one, I drew a guy from Georgia. So the way the BFL regionals work, there's 4 divisions that qualify for a regional. Like I said earlier, I fish the LBL division. They take the top 45 boaters, the top 45 co-anglers, and then they take the 5 winners from each tournament. So in a regular season division, there's 5 tournaments. So if you win, you go. You win, you're in, and then the other 45 co-anglers and 45 boaters qualify for the regional. So there are 4 divisions that fish the regional. They've changed it next year, 2020, and I can't keep track of MLF's rules, so you'll have to look it up. But it's changed. I think they're taking 65 now, and only 3 people. I don't know. Anyway, right now, 2024, 4 divisions go to the regional, and I think there was I don't know what the number was. Typically, it's like 160 to 170 co-anglers that you're fishing against. Depends on how it all shakes out. So that's kind of how we come to this point, fishing that division, qualifying for the regional. I think I finished 11th in the LBL division, so I was well inside that cut, made it to the regional. And you know, there's a meeting the night before the tournament. They have a Zoom meeting. Just do it on your phone. Back in the day, you know, pre-COVID, you used to actually show up at the boat ramp and they'd have it was FLW, or they'd have the MLF trailer set up, and you'd have an on-site meeting. But you know, COVID kind of changed everything around the world. So, and for good reason, it's a lot easier just to do it on your phone or whatever. So you get the meeting. They have the meeting, and then you get a text from Major League Fishing that shows you who you're fishing with tomorrow. So the boater gets the contact information of the co-angler. The co-angler gets the contact information of the boater, and then you guys call each other and you figure out where you want to meet at in the morning, what time you want to meet out, and get a loose idea of what the plan is. Some guys are pretty tight-lipped, you know, because there's a chance that as a co-angler you're staying with another boater that's fishing that tournament. And some guys don't want to talk about what they're doing, even though it's a freaking 50-mile lake. So, I mean, some people are so just tell them that, hey, I'm catching fish on a jig in 15 feet of water, that they're going to figure it out. But some guys are really tight. They don't want to talk about anything, which is cool. Some guys are a little more loose. They will just talk about, hey, we're going to be fishing ledges. You know, we're going to be fishing little run-ins, or you know, so just bring, you know, jig, shaky head. We're gonna be fishing wood, shallow. They'll talk a little bit, and you know, you kind of just, you don't want to pry, but you want to have an idea what to bring. If you've got like some kind of auxiliary type specialty rods, maybe you don't need to bring that stuff. You know, there was no grass on the lake. You know, I went down there with my punching rod and frog rod, hoping I was gonna whack some on a frog, but there was hardly any grass on the lake. You know, and in the past, there's been grass thick enough that it took 2 ounces of weight to punch. You know, like super thick hydrilla, but I don't know what happened. I don't know if they sprayed it. Some people think they sprayed it. Some people think they had some swift current, which has a tendency to uproot that vegetation. There's all kinds of theories. I mean, there's some people that probably think there was black helicopters in the middle of the night that snuck in and sprayed that stuff. I don't know. And there's all kinds of like theories when you start talking about the TVA and killing vegetation. But anyway, there wasn't that stuff, so I didn't need any of my punching gear or my frog gear. But I talked to Cole Davis that I drew. He was from the Savannah River division. He was from Georgia. This is like his second time on the lake. So I was like, well, you know, a lot of times when you draw somebody that's just kind of figuring it out, you can have a pretty good day sometimes. You know, if they've got a couple areas that they've caught some fish, they typically tend to like kind of slow down a little bit and relax, and that's the kind of person you want to fish with out of the back of the boat, is somebody that is fishing a little bit slower, you know, gives you the opportunity to kind of make a few casts and soak an area. So Cole was awesome, man. We had, you know, we had great conversation. We met in the morning, dumped the boat in, and made a little run. We didn't run too far. Maybe ran. I guess we ran up by kind of the Kroger Island area by the Natchez Bridge, the bridge up there. And we were just fishing some current break stuff. But he would spot lock and had plenty of time to soak our baits. And I figured out it took me a while to figure out that current because you know your stuff's moving really fast. But I figured out that the lighter the weight, and this is something I've always known, but the lighter the weight, the less you're going to get hung up. Because he was getting hung up a bunch. I was throwing a 3/8 ounce Cumberland Pro Lures Procaster first, and man, it was weird. It was you think you were lying against your jig. You think you were tight with your bait, but there was still slack. So it was you guys on here that fish current, you know what I'm talking about. It takes a while to actually get focused. You can go real heavy and have a direct connection for sure, but you're going to get hung up a bunch more because we're bouncing across rocks and stuff. So I was really having to focus on what my bait was doing. And I caught my first keeper on that jig, which is really cool. And then ended up losing it in the current. And I actually posted this, I think today, but I dropped a video last week talking about fishing that little Cumberland Pro Lures little runt finesse jig, which is a really small finesse jig. I was throwing the Yamamoto Ned Cinco floater on there, you know, a worm. Typically we put some kind of crawl presentation on the back of a jig. But I was thinking about that. I didn't bring those little Neds in there. I had some other Neds, but I was like, you know, that Ned's kind of fat. That's going to catch too much current. It's going to just drift and float too much, and it's not going to work. So I need something. I don't want any flappers because that's too much too. You know, if you got a trailer that's got a flat bottom and flappers, it's going to fall really, really slow. But I wanted something that had a really small profile, and that little runt jig is a super small profile. I had it trimmed up really good. So I just took a little piece of a Big Bite Baits, just shaky head worm, little small worm, and I threaded it on there. I mean, it hung about that far off of the skirt. And it was funny because I had just done that video not too long ago, and I'm like, here I am. I'm like, I'm actually going to see if that thing that worked that good in that video is actually going to be applicable to this tournament. And it was. I started catching some fish on it, and then I mixed in the shaky head, and that's kind of how the day went. I caught 6 keepers that day, so I was able to cull once, which is something I don't normally do. And I got to bring some cull tags because I wasted like 10 minutes culling. I ended up culling up I had like a 152 that I culled up to a 186. So we're talking line perch, guys. But I came in with 10-4, and I was like, that might be okay. And I was in 6th place. I was in 6th place. Maybe I was in 5th place. No, I was in 6th place. And I was like, dang, you're telling me there's a chance. Because the top 12 after 2 days fished day 3. And ultimately the top 6 after day 3 fished the All-American, which is a dream of mine. I always dreamt of making the All-American. So I felt good about it. You know, I'm like, okay, cool. So, you know, on your weigh-in ticket, after you go across stage, they print your weight out, and it's got your day 2 boater on there. And then you get a text a little bit later. So found out that Hunter Sells, who was my day 2 boater, he was actually eating at, I think it's a place called Freddy T's at some restaurant down there. But he was actually eating there, and Ed and JoJo and William and then Eric were all going to. They all wanted to go eat there at the same place that Hunter was going to be at. So I was like, cool, I'll just talk to you there. So I met him there, and we kind of figured it out. He was, you know, he just said, let's meet at 6. So I met him the next morning at 6, and you know, we put in. He said a prayer in the morning, which is pretty cool because they do the national anthem and they do the morning prayer. You know, Mike, the tournament director, or whoever the tournament director is, they stand up in the boat, and you know, it's cool, man. It's cool to get that, you know, the national anthem, and everybody stand there, and everybody takes their hat off, and you know, it gets you in your feels. It's good stuff. But Hunter actually said, do you mind if we say a prayer before we take off? said, heck no, man, I need all the prayers I can get. So we said a little prayer, and that was cool, man. It kind of calmed me down, and you know, it's going to happen as it's going to happen. All you can do is stay focused and fish to your ability, and just leave it all out there. It's really that simple. You just try not to spin out. You try to keep it all in perspective, keep it under control. And I was calm, and we took off. We ran up. He had caught I think he caught like 15 or 16 pounds a day before. So he was sitting in like 20 something. Still within striking distance, but I mean the weights were big, but he was still within striking distance. Definitely within check range. But he was throwing a minnow. He was looking at him on that Devil Scope 666 and throwing a little minnow and shaking it around stuff. And he was fishing these shallow bars. So we're in 3, 4, 5 feet of water most of the day. And back to that live scoping question, that was the draw where I was behind somebody that was scoping. And man, you right away, your mind starts messing with you. Like, dang it, I've been here before and I know how this ends. I don't care how good of a fisherman you are. It's hard to catch fish behind somebody that's good at scoping. And you just got to stay positive and you got to wait for your opportunity. And that opportunity came. It came later in the day. Your mind starts wandering. You're like, well, it was a good tournament. I thought I needed, my goal was like to get 10 pounds for sure. And I thought I needed 6 pounds to maybe squeak in. So, my high goal was 10, but I needed at least 6 to have a chance to slip into that top 12 to make that day 3. And it's like, I only caught like 3 fish and they're like 8 inches or something. And we got to weigh in at 345, which is the same weigh in as day 1. And I think it's like, it might be like 12:30, 1 o'clock, and I don't have a fish. He's got a couple, and he wasn't whacking them. We weren't getting a lot of bites. His fish had moved off those little shallow bars. He was struggling too. Which ideally you want your boater to get 27 pounds, and then maybe they'll put you on some fish. But that wasn't happening. So your mind's spinning out. You're like, you're already kind of talking yourself out. You're like, oh, that was good. It'd be nice to go home and see the kids and the family again. Eat a meal, and it's going to be okay. I'll have a nice peaceful drive. I'll talk to people. And then you're like, no, we're not going home yet. You better get your butt together. We fought hard all year long. We've been fighting to be in this position since late February. You're in a good spot right now. You keep your mind in the game. Do not get spun out. You got the devil on this shoulder and you got the angel on this shoulder, and they're both chirping in your ear. So you got to keep your mind focused, and you got to stay disciplined and wait for that opportunity. And Hunter, man, cool dude. We had great conversation, but he was talking about, he's like, you can usually catch some keepers off these cypress trees. And I'm like, well, man, let's go fish some cypress trees. And he was also talking about some pillars and stuff, like some current breaks, barge, the barge tie-offs and stuff. So I'm like, those are my chances. If I'm going to catch one, it's going to be behind some piece of cover that's blocking the current. It's not going to be behind somebody that's live scoping. So we tried one little set of trees. He's throwing a topwater around them, and then we got little eddies and stuff. And I was like all fired up. This is my chance. Nothing. Didn't even get a sniff. And I'm like, dang it. I get another chance. So we fished a little bit more, and then we come up to we started all the way up to McFarland. Went all the way up there. By McFarland, and we were working our way back down, stopping in a bunch of different sections along the way. Actually, we started south of Kroger Island, and then we made that run up to McFarland, and then we worked our way back down. But we fished that first little section of cypress trees, and it was just a couple cypress trees. And I thought, man, I get another chance. I don't know. Then as we fished down, we found another little stretch, and he's like, man, this cypress tree is set up perfect. I'll let you cast in there. And he threw his walking bait all around it. And by the time we drifted down there, I flipped my shaky head in there. Well, the current's ripping. So here's your tree. I know this is a tube, but if the current's going this way, so if you normally, when we're flipping, we're trying to get as close to the cover as we can in still water. So my mindset is to flip like right here. Well, what happens is that current catches it and it goes right by that base of that tree. Before the fish is right here, just a little bit behind it. But if you flip to where you would normally flip, it's going to get washed right by that tree before it's in the fish's face. And those fish don't want to move very far away from that cover to grab food. They don't have to. It's just something they don't like to do. So my first cast, I flipped too close to that piece of wood, and it floated by. Nothing grabbed it, and I'm like, and we're moving too. You know, we're not. This isn't like we're gonna sit there for 15 minutes. I'm gonna make a bunch of presentations. I got to cast a couple times at it, but we're covering water still. You know, he's still trying to get his limit. So he was just being nice for a little bit. And I'm like, okay, this is, I got to make an adjustment. I got to think about how fast my 1/4 ounce shaky head is falling versus where the base of that tree is and where it needs to land. So I cast up about 6 foot above that tree in the current, and it drifted down just like perfect. And right when it got to the base of that tree, I hit one of the knees, and then I kind of pulled up on it a little bit, and it was a little bit heavy. I felt a little bit, it just felt fishy. You know, it just felt like you need to set the hook. And that just comes from doing it a bunch. Sometimes it's, you know, hook sets are free unless you get snagged. You know, 90% of the time, maybe it's not there. But something told me in my mind that feels right. And I set the hook, and it bowed up, man. It bowed up good. And I'm fighting this fish, you know, and it's current, you know, he's on spot lock, and he comes back with the net. And it's a good fish, you know. It wasn't a line burner. It's bigger than the ones I caught yesterday. And there's that moment. There's that you know, everybody on here that fishes tournaments, you know what I'm talking about. There's that 5, maybe 10 seconds where that fish is up, but it's still too far from the net. And it's that moment where your heart's, come on, get in the freaking net, and you're trying to keep pressure on them, and you want to keep. The ideal is you want to get that fish's head up out of the water, and you want to ski him right into the net. You know, that's the ideal scenario. But sometimes that fish is still green and he ain't ready to give up. And there's kind of a fine line where you don't want to pull that hook out of the mouth. You don't want to break your line, but you want to manhandle him. You want to let him know that he's coming into the net. And that's kind of where I was at for a little bit. And I got it up. And as soon as that fish gets in the net, man, you're like, whew, there's like this moment of relief. And I get that fish in the boat, and I'm like, sweet, I got one. At least I'm going to get to walk across the stage. I didn't zero. It's not enough, but we are a lot closer than we were just 30 seconds ago. But that was the only keeper I caught. So I walk across the stage. I thought I needed 6 minimal, right? I walk across the stage, dump it on her, and it's a 3.9. So that's a good solid fish. You know, 3.9's good. And Mike says, you're in 4th place. I'm like, what? So we're boat 80. So we're about halfway through weigh-in. And I'm like, 4th place, top 12 go. Maybe it's going to happen. I was shocked. I thought he was going to say, oh, you just barely missed the cut, but you're going to be in check range, you know, because that's typically what they say. And I was still in there. So I don't even want to watch, you know, after that. So Hunter had 11 something. He ended up getting a pretty good check. He finished, I think, in the 20s. But we motor back around and put it on the trailer, and I'm really trying not to look. I don't want to sit there. I don't want to like go through all that agony of watching the weigh-in and, you know, being 9th place and being 10th and get kicked into 13, and that's it, you know. So I get a text. You know, I think I did take a little sneak peek, and I was still like in 4th or something. But then I was like, no, I don't want to look anymore. But I get a text, and it says I'm in 5th place. And I'm like, holy crap. I made day 3. I'm still in this. I got the opportunity to make the freaking All-American. I mean, I was super stoked. So I had to, you know, it's a mandatory meeting. So you got to go down there, and you got to meet your day 3 boater. And my day 3 boater was Trent. I had several people say, you're going to do good, because Trent's running all the way to the tail race, and he's not scoping. And you got a really good opportunity. And Trent actually came up to me and said, you got a pretty good chance of catching some fish. He's like, I'm not scoping. And I said, what? Are you serious? He goes, no, I'm not. And I was like, that's the best news I've heard in like 2 weeks. Because I was worried, because these guys are catching like 22 to 26 pounds looking at them. And I'm not going to catch jack behind those guys. So I drew the one guy that actually, you know, maybe there's a couple other guys too, but I definitely drew the one guy in the top 6 that I had a chance to catch a fish behind. So I was I was in 4th place for a while, and Jake Lawrence was in 4th. So I would have had to fish with Jake, and I fished with Jake before. He's hard as heck to catch fish behind. So I already knew, and he's trying to win. You know, those dudes are hardcore. They go deep. They're not gonna. They're just stone cold killers, man. They just fish hard. So I was like, the best thing that could have happened to me was somebody coming in and weighing more fish than me and bumping me into 5th. That right there, whoever did that, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, because that put me in a position where I actually had a chance to catch some fish. And let me scroll down through these comments real quick, and we'll talk about day 3. I need to take a little breather too. Oh, okay. I'll answer this here in a second. Zach's got a question. I'm still way up in the comments. I apologize. So let's just go into day 3. So I drew Trent. Trent his home lake is Pickwick. He had just won a super tournament, not on Pickwick. I can't remember what lake. I think he's from the Mountain Division, but he'd won a super tournament anyway. He's won several, and we're fishing in a bullet, so which is kind of cool. But he was pretty quiet. He was really quiet. He didn't really say much. He just said, "We're running up to the tailwater," which is where I fished day 1 with Brock. So I was kind of familiar with what it looked like up there, but I didn't have the stuff to throw up there. I mostly brought lighter, finessier type stuff. I didn't have any like really heavy Swiftwater current type of stuff. Most of my Carolina rig weights were like 1/2 ounce and some 3/4. My swim bait heads were, 3/8. I might have had a 1/2 ounce in there, but you need heavy stuff up there because that water is ripping. So when I found that out, he didn't really talk too much about anything. It was short. We decided what time we were going to meet in the morning and where we're at. Immediately left and went to, I asked some people if there was like any place that sold tackle in the area, and they said there was some gas station somewhere. And I went up there, and this gas station, it was actually across from the place I had eaten at the other day. When I say Eddie T's or Andy T's, I can't remember what that is. But anyway, there's a gas station. So I went in there and I bought some 3/4 ounce jig heads, and I bought some really big swim baits. I already had the finesse stuff covered. I had some Big Bite Baits Pro Swimmers and some underspins, and the finesse stuff I wasn't worried about, but I didn't have any big stuff. So I go in there and buy these gas station swim baits, and I get home after I went and ate, and I make it back home, and I tie up one of those big swim baits for the morning. And I had some A-rig stuff, but I didn't have any heavy A-rig heads. I didn't have the stuff, and I didn't. I don't know. I felt like I needed a swim bait, and then once I got up there, I would kind of see how things played out, and I would get a feel for what was going on. So we made that run all the way up there. It was so sketchy. There was fog. You get up there around Cane Creek, about the high lines, and that's like a section that typically has fog. I found that out because day 1 we ran into fog right up there. But we hit fog right there, and then it opened up for a little bit, and we had fog all the way up. It was, I'm talking, like you can't see 30 feet in front of the boat, maybe. Pretty intense fog at certain times. So that was scary just on the way up there. And then we finally get up there by the dam. The dam is inside, and there's enough current that there's some wind, some current driven wind, and it knocked that fog down. So you could see up there. We get up there, and I think we're going to go up to the base of the dam, the wall of the dam, so you're looking at the dam. It's a huge face of the dam. And then to the left is another wall that comes out straight off of the dam. It's like a divider. And then on the other side of that, that's where the water's coming in. And it's like class 3 or 4 rapids. It's burly. It's all white, swirling, and there's all kinds of birds and stuff up there. So we kind of start setting it down. I think we're getting ready to start fishing. And then all of a sudden, Trent goes, "Hold on." And he goes right into all that white water, and we're just, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. I didn't expect it. I wasn't ready for that, man. I was already getting ready to take my life jacket off and start fishing. And we bust through all that stuff, and we land on the other side, and there's like a nice little calm, heady. It's peaceful. It's quiet. It's loud because all that water's rushing, but he's kind of smiling. I'm like, dude, I wasn't ready for that. And he's like, I guess I should have told you. And I said, I'm kind of glad you didn't tell me, because I would have been even more nervous. That was an experience in ourselves. So we, he said, we're fishing up here all day long. And I'm like, okay, cool. Which is kind of cool. That lets you relax and lets you kind of, experiment with some different baits and stuff. And so, he caught so many drum and catfish. He showed me his hands before we went up there. He'd fished up there 2 days before that. This was his third day fishing there. His hands were just tore up from catching so many drum and catfish and buffalo and stuff and smallmouths. And he was right, man. He told me we're gonna catch a lot of drum, and he was catching drum like it was insane. I was catching drum too. He was catching way more, but which was kind of fun. And then he kept you awake, and each time you're not quite sure if it's going to be a bass or a drum. I mean, especially if you hook a smaller drum, you can't really tell. But I ended up catching about a 6-pound largemouth on that swim bait that I bought. I thought it was another drum, because I'd probably already caught about 15 drum. And this is like 2 hours after we've been up there fishing. And we're catching so many fish that you can't net each other's fish. So we would ask the person, like, if Trent had one on him, like, is it drum? And he's like, yeah, it's drum. So we just keep on fishing. He did the same. He asked me, is that drum? I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a drum. We get it close, and it comes up, and it's largemouth. So he gets a net and scoop it up, and it's 6. It looks 6. I always say it's 5. I like to lowball things. So it just, I typically go very conservative on stuff. So in my head, it's 5. So we got 5, and he'd been up there catching all kinds of good fish. So, he was saying 6, but I'm like, okay, let's just go with 5. And then about another hour later, I catch another smallmouth it's a good 3.5 or so pounds. So I've got that first largemouth. I had my 6 pounds. I thought it would take me 6 pounds to make that top 6 cut. No, I think I had 13 after 2 days. First place was like 5 pounds ahead of me. And I just, in my head, I had 6 pounds was in my head. I'm like, if I go up here and I catch 6 pounds, I think I gave myself a pretty dang good chance of making the All-American and accomplishing the dream of mine. So that one fish, I'm like, that's right there. If I just catch like a little squeaker line burner or something, I mean, I'm like 95%, unless these guys just bust them, I'm like 95% sure that I'm going to slide into that 6th spot. So when I catch that smallmouth, I'm like, dude, I made the freaking All-American. I'm stoked. Trent hadn't put a bass in the boat yet. So I'm like, okay, I need to be very content and very gracious for what I've done. I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to win, but at that time I wasn't even thinking about winning. I was just kind of like shocked. We still had 4 hours to fish, and I'm shocked. I'm like, I think I'm really actually going to the All-American. As long as my fish stay alive and we make it back to the boat ramp, I got a legitimate chance of making it to the All-American. And so I'm like, okay, let's grab some peanut butter crackers, and I'm just kind of half-ass fishing, and I felt bad because I knew Trent was going to get his fish, because he's a hammer, and he knows that current stuff way better than me. I just got lucky, whatever. But I also felt like I really wanted him to catch his 20-something pounds so he can make the All-American too. It wouldn't be the same if I made the All-American and the fish that I caught kept him from making the All-American. That's, as a co-angler, that's the last thing you want. I don't want to be a hindrance to him, because that's a dream of his too. He wants to be there too, right? So I kind of eased up a little bit, and he ends up catching, about 20 pounds. They started feeding, and things are going good. And Trent said, hey, the co-angler that wins, whoever wins on the co-angler side, they win a brand new boat, like a Phoenix boat. And I hadn't even thought about that. I was just going there to, I don't really get too caught up in what you're winning so much. As my goal was to make the All-American. So I know at one point I knew that there was a boat up for wins, or maybe some money. I didn't know how much it was. I didn't really know what kind of boat it was. And I'd already forgot about it. I was just focused on making day 3. And then on day 3, I was just focused on making that top 6 and qualifying for the All-American, because that was my dream. My dream wasn't to win a boat. My dream wasn't to win that trophy that I showed you guys a while ago. My dream was to make the All-American. And I felt like I had probably just done it. So, he goes, the winner on the co-angler side, they won a brand new boat. And I'm like, seriously? He goes, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's either that or it's like $50,000 or something. And I'm like, well, I guess I better start fishing hard then. He had close to the weight that he needed. So I felt like, okay, I kind of stayed out of that good cast, even though he said cast wherever you want. We were casting over each other because things are drifting through that current. So you just one would drift down and you'd throw over and the other one would drift down. That's kind of how we were fishing. But he let me cast wherever I wanted. Never felt like there was any ill feelings that I had caught those 2 fish, because he knew he was going to catch them. He knew it was just a matter of time. But I felt better knowing that he had 20, 21 pounds in the boat. I knew he needed to catch some more. But so he's steadily whacking them, man. He's steadily whacking them. He's just dialed in. My drift would go down through there, and fish would let it go, and then he'd be hooked up. And he's catching a lot of drum. I think he only caught 7 keeper bass. But the drum were even letting my stuff go by, because it's a certain drift, and you got to really be in tune with what your bait's doing down there. And once you figure it out, you're good. But the current changes. That's something else I learned up there. Where you had a comfortable drift for like 10 minutes, all of a sudden it's going slack, and you're getting hung up because they're discharging a little bit more water or a little bit less water. I mean, like, it seems like even 1,000 CFS can make a difference on how that drift is right there, because they're pulling there's like 90,000 coming out of that. It's ripping. But I don't know exactly why, but anybody that's been on a stream at night, there's a lot of inflections on current. There's just things change all the time. You may not really realize it, but it's happening. And that's what I was finding. Like, I get comfortable with certain drift, all of a sudden I'm getting hung up, and I'm like, that's weird. Or you come through an area that was moving, and then it's just slack. There's like a boil there, like an eddy. So it was an environment that was constantly shifting, So he finally upgraded to, he's weighing his fish. He finally upgraded to, like, what he had was like 22.5 pounds. He was trying to get 24, but we're getting close to leaving, because it's a 50-minute run up there. We're all the way at the other end of the lake. And we wanted to allow plenty of time for boat traffic, and we don't want to be bouncing around too hard to kill the fish, because that, a rough boat ride will kill your fish. So I'm thinking I already made the All-American, but I still want to catch another fish. And he said, man, I'd love to see you catch another fish or so, and maybe have a chance of winning this. And so I ended up catching about another 3.5 pound smallmouth there about 45 minutes before we had to leave. So I got a pretty good bag, I'm like, dang, I still didn't think I was going to win. I still didn't think I was going to win, because I was 5 pounds behind, right? So I'm thinking, and these guys have been catching them. So I'm thinking, I'm going to get probably like 3rd, but I am going to make the All-American. So I'm good. So we leave, and we run back across that crazy whitewater rapid craziness. I got it on video, so you guys will see it. It's pretty intense. The video actually doesn't do it justice. It was more rowdy than what the camera caught. But I was prepared for it, but it was still like, dang, because we actually, coming back across it, we had to go right towards that wall. There's the face of the dam, like here's the face of the dam, and then there's a wall that comes out like this. We had to come really hard towards that wall, and we couldn't really let off until we got close to it, and then the current just pulled us down and we went around it. So we're going at that wall like 20-something miles an hour. It's pretty hairy. It's sketchy, but he knows what he's doing. We got back to the down by the boat ramp, and we had about 30 minutes. So we just he actually did some scoping out there on a point, and we were going to stop in this area where he had found some spots that were schooling, but there was somebody sitting on it, because he wanted me to maybe catch another pounder, pound and a half or something. But anyway, so we go and we weigh in, and we are standing in the bag line. Mike, the day before, he said, when you guys come in at the weigh-in, I want everybody standing from 12th place to 1st place. So what happens is the first place guy, the guy that was leading first after day 1 and day 2, he comes up and sits in the hot seat. Somebody holds his fish. But then after that, 12th place weighs in, 11th, 10th, 9th, 8th, blah, 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 because they want to kind of build that drama. So I'm standing in line. Everybody's standing in line at the weigh-in tanks with their fish. And I'm in 5th place, right? And I look over. I'm nervous, man. I'm like, I don't even know. I don't even really want to look, but I kind of start looking over. Actually, we were walking up the hill. Trent goes, that's the co-angler. The co-angler that was in first place in his boater are walking up the hill, and his boater's got a bag full of fish, and he doesn't have a bag. And Trent's like, that's the guy that's in first, and he ain't got nothing. And I'm like, nah, shut up, whatever. I'm like, whatever. I don't want to get my hopes up. So standing at that tank, sure enough, that dude, the guy that was leading, and I apologize. I don't know I don't remember any of y'all's names. If if you watch this, I do apologize. And I feel your pain too. But he didn't have a fish, and I think there was another guy that was in the top 4 that didn't have a fish. And the other guys that I saw had 1 fish in their bag. And I didn't see like a 7 or 8 pounder. They look like just keepers in there, just some swimmers. And I'm like, dang, that's like, it kind of started maybe sinking in a little bit. And people were like, some of the guys are like, what do you have in your bag? Do you have any? I said, I got 3. And they go, are they good ones? And I'm like, yeah, they're pretty good fish. Everybody's looking at my bag and they're like, dude, you got this. You won. I'm like, shut up. I ain't no way. I just didn't, it's too good to be true. Right. And I started looking at like the guys that are standing on the other side, like 6th and 7th place. And they had, a fish or 2. It wasn't a ton of weight. And I'm starting to get kind of a little bit giddy, getting fluttery and stuff. And I'd thought about it on the boat ride back, like what I was going to say when I got up on the stage, whatever place I placed in. But I kind of had in my head, I kind of had just a little bit of something that I was going to say. I was kind of break it down a little bit on the ride back. It was a long ride. But anyway, we're standing there. And so the guy that was in front of me that was leading the tournament is sitting up in the hot seat. And as I walk up on the stage, Mike says, Gabe Montgomery from Jackson, Missouri, fishing out of the LBL division. You need, I think he said 5 pounds and 6 ounces to dethrone the guy that's sitting up here. And I knew I had that for sure, right? And so Mike says, how much do you think you have in your bag? And I'm like, I probably got like 12, And he kind of chuckled a little bit. And dude stands up, and because he'd already seen my bag, and he knew I had a pretty good sack too. And Mike's trying to build the drama, right? But he takes his hand off of the bucket there, and it's 14 pounds and 1 ounce. So I'm leading the tournament by 9 pounds. And I'm like, dang. So I sit down on the hot seat and I'm thinking about it. And I'm going through what was behind me, what 1st through 4th had. And I know at least one of the guys didn't have any. And the other bags I saw were like just, smaller fish. And I'm like, I think I won this dang tournament. I think I won the freaking regional on Pickwick Lake. And I'm going to the All-American. And I'm winning a boat and a cool piece of hardware. And so I'm like, just kind of like, it's kind of surreal, I'm just sitting there, it's kind of sinking in. And sure enough, man, the guy that was leading, he came up, just kind of going through the motions, even though that Mike knew he didn't have a fish, and he didn't, he announced that I'd won the tournament. And that's kind of basically how it went down. There'll be some more details about all the baits and stuff, but yeah, that's the deal. I was just kind of shocked, man. I was just kind of shocked. Could not believe that I had won. I'm super, super grateful, super humbled. I try not to get emotional, and when I was talking, I just want to give a shout out to the companies that I've been working with and stuff. And I in my little speech as I'm running down the lake, I was like, I gotta for sure thank God for putting me in this position, for giving me the boaters, and for just allowing me to live in the best country available, in my opinion, and just having a good life, a good job, and just surrounded by really good people. You know, I really believe in the power of prayer, and I think that all the people that were pulling for me, you know, the good thoughts and the good prayers and stuff, there's no doubt about it that that played a huge role. I mean, I had to do my part, right? But that support, I feel like that's just as essential as anything else that I was doing. So I wanted to make sure that I said that, and I wanted to make sure that I thanked my family. And I forgot to do that. When I was talking to my wife, she's like, "Yeah, I kept expecting you to say, you know, you're like, I like to thank Cumberland Pro Lures, and I like to thank Virtus Rods, and Yamamoto, and these these other people." And then she's like, "I was just waiting for you to say, and my wife and my kids, and I forgot." But she let me know. So that was like if there was one thing that could take back, that would probably be it. I mean, it's all good, you know. She was just messing with me, but it's hard to remember what all you wanted to say, and it's hard to keep a clear mind while you're up there. After you in general, anytime you're up on stage, it's kind of hard to speak clearly, especially after 5 days of fishing out in the sun. So I was burnt, man. I mean, I was a burnt fisherman out there. Let me go through some of these questions. I've been rambling. I appreciate y'all just listening to me. What's up, brother? Epic Gary gonna come on here. These guys are probably all gone now. Yeah, I fished out of a couple Caymases. They're nice boats. I like the Caymas platform. Let's see here. Oh, we're gonna give away a $25 Baitworks gift card here in just a little bit. Yeah, this is my first boat. And okay. As I'm kind of scrolling down through these, back to the options on the boat. So the one option is obviously to get the boat and spend the money on upgrading the things that I want on the boat. The second is to sell the certificate outright. You know, it's $50,000 face value, but you know, typically you're not going to get 50 for it. You know, probably maybe get 42, something like that. I don't know. And then the third is to use that certificate as credit towards upgrading to like a 721, which would be my ultimate boat that I would love to have. The Phoenix 721. I love that boat. They just came out with a new one in 2025. It's got I think the deck is like 4 inches wider. So it's a killer boat. That would be probably my dream boat. But if I was to use that certificate to upgrade, I only get 35,000 for it. So instead of it being it's a $50,000 certificate, but when you trade in, you only get 35 for it to upgrade. So it's like, a 721 with just kind of halfway decked out is going to be like mid 80s, which is insane. We just built a house, man. I got 2 kids that just started driving. I got to pay insurance and stuff. That's a lot of money, so let's say it's 80,000, you get 35 credit, you still got to come up with over 40, and then you got taxes, and I can't do that. I just can't do it. I can't do it and feel right about doing it. That's just in the position I'm in right now. I don't think that would be fair to my family to take those funds and start making a boat payment, because I ain't got the kind of cash. If I had the cash, I could dump it. I do have an older Ranger. I got a really nice O2 Ranger that I'm going to sell. If anybody on here is in the market for it's an O2 Ranger with a 225 Yami. It'll come with a Gen 2 Touch 12, and it'll come with a Gen 3 9 up front. It's ready to roll, man. I think I'm going to sell that and use that money to pay off the upgrades for the boat that I want. That's kind of where I'm leaning at. Or I'm going to just try to sell that certificate. That's kind of my options, because I can't what I would really love to do, which would be to go up to that 721. I can't do it. You know, I mean, even if I sold my Ranger, you know, I think it's probably worth around 20. Um, that would put me closer to that 721. But here's the kicker. The certificate expires January 5th, and it's already October 8th. So I don't have a lot of time, you know. And this isn't really the best time of the year to sell a boat. Typically, spring's when you want to be selling a boat. So yeah, Brian, I don't know. I don't like the Ghost. I think it's a little bit creaky, clanky. I like the Ultrex because I like that arrow moving, especially if you're somebody that you know, does fish with live scope. I have it's easier for me to find my bait with that. I mean, I guess you can get used to that Lowrance trolling motor, but I would ideally like not just the Ultrex, but the brushless version that they have that they just came out with. That's what I'd get. My buddy Joe's got one on his boat, and that's a pretty sweet setup. I think some of the Phoenix stuff's equipped with a Garmin package, so you know, the Garmin Force would probably be another trolling motor that would come on that, you know, in an upgraded package. But the Ghost is an awesome trolling motor. That's not what I meant, but they are a little bit clanky and stuff. Yeah, another $10,000. Thanks, Aaron. I don't know what I'm gonna do, man. It's like you win something, but you don't really win it. You know, you got to pay taxes on it. You know, it's like, I mean, I work for the government. Y'all know I'm a letter carrier for the United States Postal Service, and we are separate from the government. You know, we support our own self, but man, taxes are crazy, dude. It's like they didn't do anything. They didn't get out there in the rain and drive all this distance, spend all this time out in the water to keep learning how to catch fish and keep practicing and practicing, and then go get your entry fee and you spend all this money and stuff, and then you just get fortunate and win some, and then they want 25% of it. That's nonsense, man. We do have an issue in this country with taxes. I mean, especially where some of that money goes. I don't want to get political. I'm not going to get political, but I feel like I don't know. I don't know. I feel like when you bust your butt, sometimes we're penalized for succeeding in life, and sometimes the harder you work, the more they take from you at times, and it's frustrating. I wouldn't trade it because we do have safety in this country. You know, like there's not missiles and bombs flying in. You know, you look at Gaza and Israel and, you know, Ukraine and Russia and stuff. If we were in some place like that, I would gladly give them 25% of my earnings to not have bombs flying over my head. So it's first world problems, but we do pay a lot of taxes, and it is frustrating when you have to figure that stuff into a boat that you just won, Aaron. You're exactly right. It's unfortunate, and I know there's some accounting things that we can do, but it's just, gosh, I don't know. It's just frustrating. Let me go through some of these questions and see what we have. Yeah, I'd agree with Drew on that. Just for the reason that I talked about. I know they made that little that little wire adapter thing for the Ultrex, or for the Ghost. Kind of shows you that little pointer, but you got to be looking over it kind of to see it. That's what Ron kind of made one on his boat. And it's a little bit tricky. Yeah, Paul loves his Ghost. You know, you get used to whatever and you're fine with it. It's a great trolling motor. But I guess bottom line is I'm just kind of used to the Ultrex, and I would do fine with the Ghost too. I'd get used to it just like everything else. Daniel, he says, how did you deal with the guy that was scoping? Man, you just a lot of times I'm dragging a Carolina rig. I'm trying to cover water. I want something that's heavy that I can keep on the bottom, and if he's moving from pile to pile, I can just punch my thumb bar and feed it out. especially if I feel like I'm getting into a sweet spot. And if he leaves his graph on and I see like a brush pile, most of the time those guys are fishing a brush pile that's like 40 feet in front of the boat, 50 feet in front of the boat, and then they're running their boat right over the top of it most of the time. But I try to remember where that brush pile's at, or if I get an idea of how like the bar's laid out, and I think there might be like a bend in it or a turn, or if he's got his graph on, and I can kind of see how it's laid out on the map, I'm trying to break it down in my head to see where my best possible cast is. And if I see some brush on the 2D that we come over, a lot of times I'll just throw out what I think is behind it, and I'll just free spool it until he slows down. Once he slows down and finds another piece to cover to throw at, then I'll start working my bait through that brush. Because, you know, ideally you don't want to be getting hung up in the back of the boat, but there comes a point where you do have to sacrifice some things to try to put your bait in the strike zone. And that's just kind of one of the ways that I approach it. It's tough, man. It is really tough. You're just hoping for a few bites. And yeah, good for you, Alex. It's awesome. Had a couple wins and some top fives. It's hard to do. It's really hard to do. Everything's got to go right. Just gonna redo some of these comments. Thanks, Corey. Appreciate it. Yeah, they changed that $20,000 next year. They had a bunch of rule changes this year. I think I want to say there's like 12 regionals, and they take the top 65, but then only three from each regional go to the All-American. And then they went from co-anglers keeping 5 bass to 3 bass now in the tournaments to make it more even, they're saying. I guess maybe if you, I don't understand that totally. But that's what they're going to do. They're just trying to mix it up. There's some diversity in bass fishing right now. I mean, you've got, if you're opposed to forward facing sonar, you can fish the MPFL, at that upper level. And then if you want a little bit of a mix, there's some opportunity in Major League Fishing with the invitationals, and I mean ultimately the BPT. And then bass is like, they kind of toned it down from it being the absolute wild west to one transducer up front, and no pole or no brakes on the back. So there's a little bit of here, a little bit there. I know a lot of people were hoping that they would ban forward facing sonar from the BFLs, because that's grassroots level, and a lot of co-anglers are complaining about the numbers have been down a little bit in some divisions. And it just depends on what division you're in. Obviously, certain lakes, it comes into play a lot more, but that's definitely been concerned. Been a lot of chatter about that. Didn't really know what they would do. I'm okay with it, whatever, got to learn how to fish. I think it all shakes out. I mean, I drew Levi Cole in the super tournament this year. I ended up finishing 4th in that super tournament, and day 2 I drew Levi, and he's a really, really good live scoper. I mean, he almost made the All-American. He fished day 3 in this regional, and he only brought in 3 fish the last day because his fish moved on him, or he would be an All-American. But I fished behind him on day 3, and it's tough. So I've had, I fished behind Jake Lawrence. I've drew some pretty good scopers, and I think it just kind of all washes out in the wash. But I've drew some guys that were, around more scattered out fish, and they were fishing a little bit more loosely. So ideally, you might get a couple scopers. Say you're fishing 5 tournaments in the division, you might get a couple scopers, but you might get a couple that are a little more loose, and you got a chance to kind of hopefully it just kind of all evens out in the wash somehow. But I mean, you can get behind somebody that's running a square bill down the bank on 7, and he's sitting like 10 feet off the bank fishing parallel or fishing bluffs, like tight to bluffs on the top water, and that's just as hard to catch some fish behind as somebody that's scoping. Let's see here. Yeah, I agree with that, Corey. It's 100% mindset. You're exactly right. And you have those conversations within yourself throughout the day, and you got to stay positive. Thanks, Jonah. I appreciate it. Yeah, Tom, that's exactly right. A rig sometimes can be really good as a co-angler, and a little swim bait, like a little 2.8, is something that I kind of mixed into the rotation, and a stupid tube. I've caught some key fish in stupid tube. Hey, let's pray for Mike Russell. Mike's a good friend of the channel. He's just a good dude all around. I wasn't aware, Darius, that he had heart surgery. I know up on the stage, um, Ryan Kirkpatrick had mentioned something about Mike having some health issues, and I had all intentions of calling him yesterday, but I was on the phone or just reaching out to him, but I was just nonstop talking on the phone, and it kind of slipped my mind. So, um, man, everybody that's watching this, just keep Mike in your thoughts and prayers, because he needs them. He's a good dude, really good dude. He's been under a lot of stress. Um, so we'll just hope and pray for speedy recovery for Mr. Russell. He's one of the best bait painters out there. Let's see here. Got a lot of comments. Thanks, Rich. Appreciate it. Thanks, Josh. Yeah, Devil Sculpt 666. That's what we call it. Yeah, it's got that reputation. I don't know, Shimano. I'm on the fence. I mean, I almost feel like a lot of people have been saying, "Hey, when are you gonna jump over the boater side?" And you should do it. But I don't know. I kind of got mixed feelings about it. It's a lot of it is it's a lot more expensive to fish the boater side, not just the entry fees, but obviously, the gas and fuel expense, boat expense, and I have to take off a couple more days of work to practice because I want to be prepared. There's a lot of responsibility as a boater, not just to hopefully find some fish and be around fish, but you need to know the lake. You need to know how to navigate on the lake pretty good. You need to kind of know, and I have an idea of what's going on out there and stuff. um, so that would require a few more days off of work, and that's really obviously having a boat, which I do have that my Ranger, which I could do a few upgrades to get it to where I would like it, and I could fish out of it. And with this one in this other boat, if I do decide to get it, I guess I just have to either do it. It's kind of like poop or get off the pot, man. But I do enjoy I still get you still get the competitive feeling when you are fishing out of the back of the boat, and I really don't. You hear this all the time. It's cliche. You're just fishing against the fish, and that's really what I feel like most of the time. I've gotten to know a lot of the co-anglers, and I'm pulling for. I mean, I want to do good. I'm not just fishing to piss away my money, but um, I do realize you are just fishing against the fish after you've done this for a little bit, and that's that's how it is. So I don't know. I don't know about the boater side. I still got to think about it. I need to do it though. When I originally bought that Ranger, my intention was, to jump over on the boater side, but I've just kind of got comfortable, and I enjoy another reason why I do the BFLs is to shoot footage to capture the day, and that's you can still do it as a boater for sure. I mean, I do it when I'm not fishing the tournaments, but it's cool to kind of capture some of the little stuff that doesn't require quite as much focus while you're fishing, like the handheld stuff and just a little commentary stuff that goes on in the boat, trying to capture that whole day. It's a little bit easier when you're fishing as a co-angler to do that because you're not focused so much on navigation and driving and making those kind of decisions. So I think it plays up for a better video, better content. So that, yeah, Rich, if he's still in there, I did do some recordings though. Whitewater is pretty burly, man. Let's see here. See if I can get down to the bottom of some of these. I appreciate everybody jumping on here, man. Glad I did this and got this out. It feels good to like kind of share the story with you. Sean, thanks, buddy. Let's give away a gift card here. Oh, Eric's still in the house. Cool. I'd like to get Epic Eric on here sometime, man. Talk about crankbaits. It's cool to get somebody that is like a complete nerd on a certain bait and have them really break that stuff down. Because I don't know a lot about it. That's what's going to be cool about. I mentioned Ed Geddes earlier. He's got some stories, man. He's got some stories. We sat around. He's like a hummingbird. He just drinks sweet tea and keeps on talking. He'll keep you up till 1 a.m. But he goes hard, man. You know, he's in his 70s. Talk about these guys that are in their 20s and early 30s that go hard all day long. You know, sun up to sundown. Ed still got it, man. It's crazy. I thought I was gonna sleep in a little bit after day one because I was tired. I stayed up really late Sunday night doing video, getting a video ready to drop, and got up really early Monday morning, fished all day, and then Tuesday I thought, well, I'm gonna sleep in a little bit. No, at 6 o'clock in the morning, Ed was beating on my door, and he was ready to go. I think he already had his life vest on. I mean, he was like, "Get up, we're gonna go eat. We're gonna get out in the water." And we fished till we had to get off the water all day long. And he'd been doing that for I think like 4 days or something. So he still loves it. He's still passionate about it, and it's cool to hear his conversations. He's still trying to break everything down. He's like, I wonder why this brush pile had a fish on it and this one didn't, and these three don't. And then is it because the current's coming through here a certain way, or do we need to be fishing more main river? Are we too far back in the cove? Do we need these brush piles are too tall, these too short? He's still going through it all, and it's really cool. He keeps his mind open. He's still just as passionate about it as a 4-year-old. They just caught their first bluegill or something, or their first 5-pound bass. Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the All-American. I got to. I want to talk to Connor Cunningham as he won the All-American on Lake Hamilton. But I just want to talk to some people about what that experience is like. What all goes on down there, because it's an honor. I mean, there's not a lot of people that get to fish it. I think it's the beginning of the BFLs, all the divisions and stuff for the year. I think there's probably, I've heard this quote, I don't know if it's 100% true, but something like 10,000 anglers at the beginning, and it whittles down to 6 from each region. And then I think there's less than 50 people that fish the All-American every year, like 50 co-anglers, 50 boaters. So you start with this huge number and it funnels down to just the select few. So it's pretty sweet. I mean, it's an honor to just be able to fish that. Yeah, they said, I talked to a couple different guys about that boat, and it runs like high 60s, 68, maybe 70. And even with a load, I was talking to a guy today, and he said he was a salesman in Highlandville, I believe. Talked to one guy down in Paris area at ACS, and then I talked to another guy at Highlandville, I think is a place. He said even with a tournament load, like 2 guys in tournament load, it's like you still get like 66, 67. So that's decent top end speed. I mean, that's kind of what you see a lot of guys that have 21 foot boats with a 250 on it, and they say their boat runs 71 and you're going 68 and they're not passing you. I had that conversation with, I think it was Hunter. I was fishing with Hunter Sales. He's like, all these guys talking about their boat goes 72. but you're running 78 and nobody's passing you. So I'm good with high 60s. That's the perfect size boat, honestly, for me. Around here, living in Missouri and fishing a lot in Southern Illinois, fishing like Wapapello and Clearwater and some of these, less than 8,000 acre lakes, but a lot of them are like 3,000 acre lakes. I mean, a 19 and a half foot boat is a great size boat. That's not going to be an issue. Even out on some of the bigger water, Lake of the Ozarks and Kentucky Lake, you can be just fine out there. So I think that's plenty of boat for what I need as I'm kind of talking through this live. I think I would be just fine with that size boat. Obviously, a 21-foot boat's going to be a little bit better. But there is some advantages to that smaller boat. It probably drafts a little bit less. You might be able to get a little bit shallower. I don't know. But definitely if you're fishing around docks and stuff, it's a little easier to, wheel around with a 19 and a half foot boat versus a 21-foot boat. So there's some advantages. You're gonna have a little bit less storage. I'm thinking about as a co-angler, it's always nice to have a big storage area behind the seat to put your tackle bag in. I mean, it is nice. Like a Nitro has an excellent storage compartment. Vexus, obviously, Phoenix does, Triton does, Basscat, no. Basscat, their storage in the back is really strange. They're unique boats, but for a co-angler, you can't fit Jack in there. It's like a geometric science class going on in the back. I don't quite understand. They got plenty of cup holders though. If you need a place to put your bottle of water, they got you covered, man. But that's another thing that I want to see with that boat is what the, how much storage is in the back for the co-angler, because eventually if I do go to the boater, it'd be nice that the co-angler has a good area. I already know what the passenger side seat, how it kind of lays out with the storage. I'd get a single console too, because that is nice as a co-angler to, unless it's raining, or snowing, but it's nice to just have no console over there to deal with. You can just fit a lot more stuff. You get a lot more leg room. Yeah, I don't know. I've never had my stuff linked. It is cool to. I think with I'm not sure what brands it is. Maybe it is a Lowrance, Craft of the Lowrance, or maybe it's whatever Humminbird with Minn Kota. But you can pick a spot, a point that's like 200 yards away. You can put a dot on it, and your trolling motor, if it's linked up, will just go straight to that point. I think, which is kind of neat, but I don't know. Ain't that cool? I mean, how often do you really use that? I still want to be looking up when I'm going across something because you just never know what's in front of you. But I think maybe to keep you along a depth zone, maybe if you want to just be fishing the boat in 15, throwing up in 5, maybe it'll follow that contour on your map, which is kind of cool too. But it's not too big of a deal. I can work around that. The All-American is on Lake Hamilton, which is in Hot Spring, Arkansas, and I think it's the last part of May. It's a tough lake. I've heard it's a pretty tough lake. It'd probably be a grinder tournament. There's a couple videos out there. I was kind of watching. There's an FLW tournament in 2019. I think it's the last cup. It's the FLW Cup that Brian Thrift won. That's on Lake Hamilton. I was watching that the other night. He got on some schooling fish around some road. He kind of just sat on them for a while. But I watched a little bit of that, and there's some like Connor Cunningham won the All-American there. I think it was in 2022, maybe. I think he's been on the stream and he's talked about it. I think he got a good topwater bite. So I don't know exactly what goes on there, but I do know that it's not going to be like Pickwick. People ain't going to be weighing in 26-pound bags. So, bites will be premium, which is cool. Everybody's got the same playing field, and it is what it is. Yeah, it does expire pretty quick, and I'm one of those guys that I'll go catch that gift card in that's already expired. I've done that before. Like when I bought my Garmin LVS 32, the reason I bought it, I'd been wanting a live scope for like 2 or 3 years, and I'm like, there's no way. I mean, I can't pay like, I think it's $2,800 to get a 10-inch graph and a live scope transducer, and I thought about it for 2 years before I finally did it. JB and I did it about the same time, and Garmin threw out a little bone. They threw out this little $300 Visa gift card. You could use it for whatever you want, and they had a little bit of a discounted price. Well, so I bought it, and then 1 month later they came out with the LVS 34. So I was like, dang it. I was disappointed. And I'm like, well, at least I saved a little money. I got this gift card. And then it was about, I don't know, it was a year later or something. One of my daughters needed a pretty pricey item, and I don't remember what it was. And we were talking about it. Yeah, we can do that. We can scrape up some change and get that done. And I was like, actually, you know what? I got this gift card that I've been sitting on from Garmin from that live scope that I've never used. We'll just use that. That'll cover it. And I think it was a laptop. She wanted a really nice laptop, so it was gonna be like $300 towards a really nice laptop for her birthday, for Christmas or something. And anyway, I break out that gift card and it's expired. It had expired like a month earlier or something. So back to your comment there, yeah, I got to stay on it because it'll be January before I know it. And it's one thing to let $300 slide; it's another to let 50 G's. Yeah, hit that sub if you guys are on here still. I'd appreciate that. Just helps that algorithm. Share it. If you want to hear how some knucklehead from Southeast Missouri want a nice fancy bass boat. Yeah, it's still sinking in, man. Still sinking in. I don't know what this means. Slide baits. Maybe he's talking about glide baits. Yeah, I think that's definitely an option, Keith. Is selling that certificate. What's up, my brother? Got to eat with that guy down there. Just walked into some little roadside cafe, and there he was, and we had a catfish dinner together. Okay, Jim. I'll get with Doug and talk about that, because that's not the first person that's mentioned that. I probably need to stay on top of that. Let's see here. Just kind of going through these comments. You know what? That's not a bad idea, because he's got that. Didn't he have to use some like 15-year-old boat or something? I don't know about the story. I don't follow him. But I see little tidbits of things that are going on here and there. I just can't click on it, man. But yeah, that's right up his alley. Thanks, Harold. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. I got like 5 years to retirement. I actually got my 30-year plaque or something. It's funny, Jim. So I've been off work for 10 days, and I just won this tournament, and it's kind of a big deal to me, at least. And I go into work, and the supervisor, we have a stand-up talk every morning where all the carriers go into the break room, and it's just a little 5-minute stand-up talk. And I get this award for 30-year employment with the United States Postal Service. I get a little, pin made in China, of course, but it's still, it's still cool. I stayed there for 30 years. It's a long time. Been through a lot together. And as I'm walking through the building throughout the morning, people are saying congratulations. And I'm thinking, thanks. It was a tough tournament. And I was super fortunate to get some good draws and throw my bait in the right spots. And they're talking about the 30 years. And I'm like, that was just kind of a consolation prize. I didn't really have to do, I had to work, you know what I'm saying? I had to show up and do my job, but it's completely different than winning a regional. But my little mind was like, oh, these people are congratulating me on winning a bass tournament, and they're not. They're just congratulating me on being able to tolerate 30 years at the same job. So I thought that was kind of funny. But I did have a couple people come up and thank me. So people that are in the loop, they know what I've been trying to do. What's up, Peyton? Oh, cowbell ringer. It's funny. I was doing a little bit of watching some of the videos last night, just some of the footage, and sure enough, when I went across stage, there's a little cowbell, and Peyton and his boys were up there on the hill ringing that little cowbell. It's pretty funny. Thanks, William. Yeah, I don't know. I definitely wouldn't forget where I came from, as far as being courteous and stuff to the co-anglers. I'd have to mix and match a little bit to compete, but I would definitely I would definitely be the guy that when I got a decent limit, I would try to, go find a couple fish for my co-angler for sure. Or I would do my best to fish in a manner that my co-angler could have a shot. That'd be sweet, Eric. I will definitely DM you sometimes soon. I know you're a busy guy, but I'll get in touch with you and we'll try to make it happen sometime. Yeah, I guess I could do that, Kenny. I don't know. I like fishing the LBL division and the Ozark division because those are, I guess the Illini division is closer than the Ozark division. But of those three divisions, I like. So, I could be I could probably be a boater. I don't know, maybe in the Illini division. I'm not sure. That's an option. I hadn't really thought about that. I don't know if I would how that would go. I could actually do a boater on the BFL and then, co-angler on the Opens or the Toyota series. But then you're talking about more time off of work, and then money. You're 100% right, and I've been waiting for too long. Now I need to just do it. I think once I get my feet wet, I know how it operates. I know the the process of it, which that's one of the scariest things as a new co-angler is the whole process of how the whole tournament scene works. But once you get in there, you do it a little bit, you kind of get the feel of everything. The decision making is the most important part of it. All right, man, I'll do that. Appreciate that. I'm gonna write that down right now because I will forget. There's some really good co-anglers out there. I know there is. I'm gonna get back down there and jump in a boat with you. I want to fish with Michael too this winter. I got all kinds of plans. I want to go to Alabama and fish with Mikey Balls. I got the invite to go down there. I definitely want to do that. If Rich wasn't so damn far away, I'd drive up there and fish with him a little bit. All right, let's give away this big card. Big card. Let's do. We are going to do hashtag. Hold on a second. Let me share it before we do it. Let's do. I'll type it in yet. Give me a second. Let me get it set up. Okay, let her rip. Going to do hashtag BFL. So anybody that wants to win a $25 Baitworks gift card, go ahead and hashtag BFL it, and we'll let it run for just a little bit, and then we'll draw it. There's a lot of new people on here. If you haven't heard of Baitworks, it's down in Springfield, Missouri, but they have an online presence. Super fast shipping. I think they take orders. If you call and order by, I believe, 1 o'clock, they ship out the day of. So it's pretty quick. You know, it's kind of centrally located, and you know where I'm at, I'm about 5 hours away. A lot of times I get it the next day, if not 2 days. So anybody that's kind of in that Midwest section, probably 2 days. They got a pretty good variety of stuff. Good dudes down there. I've been working with them for a while, and you can see scrolling across there on the ticker. Use the code THM10 and get you 10% off your order from Baitworks. They do run a lot of flash sales. So if you're not following them on Facebook or Instagram, it's a good idea because they run some pretty deep discounts on stuff. There's a lot of times where they'll run like a 20 to 30% discount on just random things, you know. And they've also got a bargain bin on their online shop, just like a lot of places do, but you can kind of go through that. And there's some good picks in there. Some good stuff that's worth picking up. So yeah, give them a look. There's a lot of, you know, several places out there to order stuff from, but yeah, go check them out. I can't wait for the Phoenix is going to have so a lot of you don't know, but I was working with Virtus, American made rod. They're made at Mid-American Rod Company in Arkansas, and they make a phenomenal rod. Well, GSM purchased them not too long ago, and they've been incorporated into the Phoenix line. So they're coming out pretty soon with the Phoenix Virtus rod. It's still going to be made in America in the same place that Virtus was originally made. It's just going to have, you know, the different stickers and stuff on it, but they're coming out with I talked to Russell a while back, and they've got a bunch of new models of rods. So they're going to kind of go heavier on some of the spinning stuff. They didn't have their spinning rod selection was missing some models. So they're going to have a bunch of their blue diamond. You know, they have a blue diamond and red diamond model, both excellent rods. They're going to be, I think it's like 15 technique specific rods in the blue diamond and maybe 30 in the red diamond series or something like that. But it's going to be several new rods coming out. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they bring to market. But American made rods, whatever rod, you know, company you like, if you can get an American made rod, anything in America, it's hard to find. These are pretty good stuff though. You might pay a little more for it, but that's just the price of manufacturing in this country. Hashtag champ. That's funny. Yeah, Robert, it's a 19-foot 8-inch Phoenix with a 200 Merc. What's up, Harbor? Congratulations, man. He had a freaking solid tournament. He busted like a 27-pound bag. That was a shocker, man. You made it close. It was cool. It was good talking with you too. He's a fellow Bahio sunglass wearing tournament fool down there in the LBL division. It's cool hanging out with all you guys, man. I enjoyed it. That's one of the coolest parts about fishing these tournaments is just the camaraderie, just hanging out, talking with people. You know, you're with a bunch of like-minded folks, and it's just cool, man. It's like a little brotherhood, just a little brotherhood. You know, the more each year you kind of meet new people and you just make new friends, and that's when I'll ask you this, Harbor, since you're on here. I still have a letdown, and anybody else that's on here. It's like there's the build up to the tournament, regardless if it's just a bass club tournament or if it's a USA Bassin or Angler's Choice, or if it's a BFL, or if it's a regional, or even a Toyota, go all the way up to the top. There's like this build up. You're thinking about it. It's coming up. It's a couple weeks out. It's in your brain. It's kind of saturating your mind a little bit. Maybe you're doing some prep, you know, some map study, just kind of ordering some baits, getting this and that kind of squared away. And then as it gets closer, you start dialing things in. You know, you get your tackle ready and all your stuff's come in. And then you make that trip to the lake and you're practicing, you know, and you're out there, you're practicing. And then it's tournament day, it's derby day. You know, you fish that derby. And it seems like it doesn't matter how well you finish, because this happened when I just recently won, but it's also happened when I've sucked and stunk it up. There's like this letdown. There's this emptiness. It's usually not the way home. I mean, if you really stunk it up, you might be like, dang, I suck. I'm going to sell all my stuff. This lake sucks, that whole thing. But there might be that going through your head, or man, I missed this fish. I jumped this fish off. That fish right there, I would have moved up 5 spots. There's that kind of stuff that goes through your head. But usually the next day you get this like this kind of void. It's all over. It's like this little vacuum. And I thought it was just when you maybe don't do that well, or even maybe when you get like I don't know, like a top 20 finish, which is really solid finish, but you're kind of disappointed in yourself. Maybe you thought maybe you could do a little better, but I still got that same feeling from doing really good in tournaments too. And I think to me, it seems like it's kind of like the old saying that it's more about the journey than it is the destination kind of thing. That whole journey is the fun part of it. And then it's over and you're looking for the next one. Like I'm ready to go fish another tournament now, of course, but you're ready to go on the next expedition, the next exploration and stuff. So there's this void. And I don't know, do you guys get like that too? Regardless of how good or bad you do in a tournament, I still feel like I think it's more to do with it's all over versus how well you do in it. Yeah, Andy would know. Andy's been a winner a couple times. All right, let this run for just a minute or so more, and then we'll draw. Actually, Jay. I called. So we had Dion Hibden on. I think it was like 2 weeks before the Big Bass Bash, and the Big Bass Bash on Lake of the Ozarks, and we give our big bass prediction, what we think the fish is going to weigh, and then what bait we think the fish is going to be caught on. And we kind of did I think we did top 3 baits and then top 3 weights. So first, second, third, and then what baits they were caught on. And Dion, first he sent me a video of him catching like a 6'9" or something. And he fished a tournament down there. I think it was the Angry Pirates maybe. But he had like a 6'9" and another 6-pounder. So I got this pretty cool video of him just yanking a big old bubble-eyed beauty out of from underneath the dock on one of his jigs. And then he called me, and I didn't see the call, but I called him back, and he's like, "Well, did you see what the Big Bash winner weighed?" And I said, "No, man, I've been at Pickwick all week. I wasn't really following it." He's like, "Well, it was over 7 pounds." So what he was getting at was, I had guessed that the number one the first place bass, the $100,000 fish, was going to be like 6.93 or something, a little bit less than 7. Well, JB and Dion had guessed a little bit over 7. I can't remember exactly what it was because I had it written down on my father-in-law's house. But the wager was, if Dion wins, I got to take him frog fishing because frog bites kind of get ready to take off around here. And if I win, I get to go to Lake of the Ozarks and jump in the boat with Dion. So he was just calling to make sure that he possibly could have won. I mean, we got the bait wrong. I think it was caught on a tube. I can't remember, what baits we picked, but I think I had a glide bait and his was probably a half-ounce hidden hammer jig, I would imagine. I can't remember what JB said, but we didn't get the baits right. But I think one of them got closest to the weight for sure. So it was just, so then I told the whole tournament story to Dion. He had to listen to me. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him and Jay and all the other guys. It's gonna be fun. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. I think it is. Yeah, man, you just keep your head up, keep rolling. All right, let's give it away. Got 31 entries. That's it. Kind of shocked. Got 100 something people on here. Only 31 won $25 worth of free tackle. All right, here we go. Ha! Doug. Retrieve. Congratulations, Doug. I tell you what, that is one addition that I will have to the new boat if I get a new boat. If I decide to get the new boat, I'll definitely put an auto retrieve on there. Short plug for Doug. He's on here. He makes a little device called auto retrieve. Look it up. It's a plug knocker that's on a 50-pound or 50 feet of trolling trout line, braided line, and it's got a little plug knocker on it, and it's right there, and it's super handy. Everybody should have one, 100% for sure. It'll pay for itself the first day you get it. I'm gonna wrap this up, folks. I'm more out. I really appreciate all the support. It's like I said earlier, it is absolutely overwhelming, and I appreciate you guys staying on here and letting me ramble for almost 2 hours about just really a dream come true. Really didn't expect it, like I said earlier. And sometimes the best way to walk through life is to keep your gratitudes higher than your expectations. And if you can do that, then I think you'll appreciate what comes before you even that much more. So look for videos coming out soon. I'm going to try to, I got a ton. I got a bunch of other stuff too. I'm going to try to drop that big old video on Wapapello that I fished with Doug a little while ago. I'm going to try to get that out this week. And then I will constantly be working on all my other footage. I got some pretty cool videos coming up, not just the regional stuff, but some other cool videos. I'll have a lesser known video coming out, and I think you guys will like. It's a little small lake around here. So I'm trying to do like a couple of those lesser known videos. I don't want to blow any place up, but they're places that people know about, and it'll be fun. So thanks to everybody that hung out with us again. Next week, I may have, I got Randy Howe scheduled next week. We're going to talk about him, using that Legends exemption to jump back in the Bassmaster Elites, which is really cool. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and then, I'm not gonna try to push him into talking about anything he doesn't want to talk. But we'll definitely throw some of that out there. Seems like a really cool dude. But I want to get the 3 winners from the Big Bass Bash. I've got the contact information for them, so I got to make a decision on if Randy would maybe come back on a week later or two, because we'd like to get the Big Bass Bash winners on there, sooner than later, because it's still kind of a buzz, and it's kind of timely to get them on there soon. So we either have Randy Howell on next week, or we'll have the top 3 from the Big Bass Bash. But either way, it'll be a good show. Thank you for all the support again, and leave a comment if you don't mind after we shut the sucker down. Just leave a comment on the YouTube channel and help the algorithm and all that stuff. So thanks everybody, appreciate it, much love, and until next time.